Welcome to today's curriculum on lab orders in the EMR. My name is Stephanie and I'm from the Department of Clinical Quality. I'm a nurse and have been working in various departments of MEMA and Health First for the last 7 years. As a disclaimer, I'll be showing you a variety of scenarios you may encounter when entering lab orders, but it is likely that you will have unique situations that I have not experienced. This course is to serve as a refresher and an overview of the process. I will open up the line for questions at the end of the presentation, but for questions related to your office's specific workflow, please send an email to one of the addresses that will be shown at the end of the webinar. Okay, so we'll begin with single lab orders. From a patient's chart, select the Update Action button. Choose Orders with ABN or use the binoculars to search, and click OK. Click Select Orders, and the Orders module appears. The first tab is Custom List. It is being requested that everyone choose orders from a custom list rather than searching because there are multiple tests with the same name, but some of these tests contain errors that will not cross over to the lab system. And unfortunately, there's no way to tell which of these contains errors. For my first example, I'm going to order a chemistry for Dr. Soto from the custom list. You can select whatever custom list is most appropriate to your area or specialty. As you can see, there are a number of custom lists available. So for my custom list, I'm going to find the test to order. So we'll do a Chem 8. And then we'll click the Order Details tab. Select the diagnosis and the authorizing provider. We'll leave the priority as standard for this one. I actually don't want this test to be drawn until right before this patient's yearly visit. So I'm going to change the date to June of next year. If I had left the order under today's date, it would disappear from the lab system after 3 months. So I need to be sure to put the date as close to the day I want it drawn as possible, and then remind the patient to have it done, of course. So this patient also can't have blood work drawn from his left arm because he had lymph nodes removed. So I want to add a comment to instruct the lab not to use the left arm. To do this, I'm going to go back to my Custom List tab, and I'm going to find Additional Comments. And then go to the Order Details. The diagnosis and authorizing provider have already populated with what was entered for the previous order, which is fine. We'll just need to change the date to match the other order. So we'll change that to June of next year. And then we need to type our comments. So in the instructions box, you can see that it says order comment and then asterisk, additional comments, asterisk. We don't want to delete or edit any of the information that's already there. But what we want to do is at the very end of the line, right behind the second asterisk, type our comment. So we'll type use right arm only. And then we're done with our comments. So our orders don't have any flags that we can see, so they're complete. We can go ahead and sign them off. So we'll sign the orders, click OK, and it takes a few seconds. And in the background, it runs the ABN check. So for the additional comments, there was no ABN rule found, which is fine. So So we can now end our update and sign the document. So next we're going to review standing orders. Once again, we'll go up to the Update Action button, and this time we'll select Labs Standing Orders 0001 and click OK. So I'm going to order a standing weekly CBC for Dr. Soto, but the patient actually saw the nurse practitioner. So first I'll select the diagnosis. You can also add a problem if it's not listed there already. I'll choose the nurse practitioner from the authorizing provider drop-down list. The ARNPs and PAs are located at the bottom of the drop-down list. So we'll find. And when I select a PA or a nurse practitioner, a new drop-down appears to select a supervising provider. So I'll go ahead and put Dr. Soto in there. The orders are grouped alphabetically. I'm going to select the first group and then choose CBC from the drop-down menu. I'll select the start date, we'll say next week, the number of draws, I'm going to say 2 just to keep it simple, and the frequency, weekly. And then the priority for this will be stat. Keep in mind that you can only enter up to 6 months worth of standing orders. So if you're ordering a monthly lab, the maximum number of draws you can enter is 6. What I recommend is if you need to order standing labs beyond 6 months, send yourself a flag as a reminder. So at this point, additional tests can be ordered under the same diagnosis code and provider by using these drop-downs or selecting the additional boxes below. But in my scenario, I'm going to order another test with a different diagnosis. So I'm going to click Commit Orders, the big yellow button. It can take a few seconds for this to process. So for my next set of orders, I'm going to click Clear Form to add more orders. So this patient is also being started on Coumadin, and will need to have a prothrombin time checked twice a week to determine if adjustments are needed. There is a shortcut to do all of this. There's a small purple button here that says Order PT. So we'll click that. We haven't added Coumadin to the patient's medication list yet, so this notification appears. We'll click OK, and then it also tells us that 2 diagnosis codes are being added related to Coumadin therapy, and we can click OK again. So the orange button then appears to click to add Coumadin. We can't proceed with ordering this test until we add the Coumadin to the med list. So we'll go ahead and click. And I'm just going to quickly add Coumadin to their medication list. And I'm not going to put in any instructions just for our purposes. But now that I've added it, we can enter the standing orders. So we'll go to the top and select the diagnosis. The patient has AFib, so that's why they're on Coumadin now. And we also select the 2 new diagnoses that were added. We'll select the authorizing provider. And now we'll select the date. They start tomorrow. The number of draws, once again 2 for ease. And the frequency will be twice a week. Priority is normal. Now we'll commit the orders. And now we're ready to go to the orders module. So the bottom dark blue button says click here to go to orders. We'll click that, and the orders module opens. I want to look at the details of my orders, so I'll either double click on the order name or click Order Details. I can see that 2 orders have been entered for each test. For the first test, I can see the provider, the diagnosis, date, and priority have all been entered. I can also see that it added the modifiers ZZZZ, weekly, and Dr. Soto as the supervising provider. Do not remove any of the modifiers. If it's a nurse practitioner or a PA ordering the labs and you do not see your supervising physician, IT may need to add their name to the list of modifiers, so you'll need to submit an IT ticket. Lastly, we can look at the PT order, and we see that all the elements have been entered here as well. So now we're ready to sign the orders. Click OK. And once again, it's checking the AVN in the background, so that's why it takes a few seconds. Close. And end the update. And sign. The last item I want to cover is canceling orders. To do this, go to the Orders tab in the chart. You can see the orders that we just entered are here. And I'm going to find an order that I want to cancel. There's one already selected. So you can either right-click on the order name, or you can go to the top and select the Change Action button. Click Add Modifiers, and then either type or scroll down so you see the Canceled Test Order. Click Add, and click OK. And OK again. The lab system takes a few minutes to receive data from the EMR, so you need to wait about 10 minutes before the next step. But if I go down to the order that I canceled, I can see that the cancel modifier has been added as the code. So after the 10 minutes has passed, I can return to this order and then click the Remove button up at the top. I'll then type the reason
and click Yes. To summarize, remember to use custom lists for single lab orders. Do not search. If you need assistance with setting up a custom list, contact one of the clinical quality liaisons listed on the next slide. If a lab test is missing from your custom list, enter an IT ticket for this to be resolved. Up to 6 months of standing orders can be entered, and all orders expire 3 months after the proposed collection date. Nurse practitioners and physician's assistants ordering labs need to have a supervising physician entered as a modifier. And when canceling labs, use the cancel modifier and wait 10 minutes before removing the order. This slide lists the contact information for the Department of Clinical Quality.